Hi, this is Beth Cooper, and welcome to another Bluebird Chat. Hi, everybody. This is Beth Cooper, and I'm here today with Lynn Fraley. And Lynn is going to be teaching us about equestrian sculpture. So, Lynn is going to be my first sculpture workshop ever. And
Yay.
welcome, Lynn.
Thank you, Beth. I'm excited.
It was in a painting workshop I had with Don Solly last June. And we started talking, and she said, I'm a sculptor. And then she showed me her website, and I was like blown away by what I saw.
Ah,
I
thanks.
was like, oh my gosh, these are gorgeous. Then she started telling me about your process. And then I'm like, well, let's think about having a workshop and provide the material.
I will be providing the wire and the base, essentially the armature supplies. I will be providing a little thing that you'll have a stand, and you'll have the wire and the clay for the horse. So, and essentially this is kind of the process. We start with the wire, and then we build up from the wire to the muscles, and the wire is all set up basically as a scale model of the skeleton. And I have templates that we work with. There's really from a blueprint. There's not much guessing. We don't is very almost engineering like so if you're building a house, you have the 2x4s, they become the studs, and you put the cladding and stuff on the house. Here we start with wire, that's the skeleton, and then the clay becomes the muscle groups, and then later the fun things like the face and the mane and the tail. So it's very straightforward. We work together.
And so on top of the tuition fee, that's an extra $125 for that. And they get to keep all
Idaho. So it'll all be waiting for them when they arrive.
That's cool. So then it's easy to ship that to their homes or take it in their car or whatever.
Right. Or ship it.
Yeah. There's tuition price, and then on top of that, you will be paying Lynn an extra $125, but you will have everything that you need there as far as supplies. And then there's a few things that people will have to bring.
A pair of pliers to help bend the wire, and some wire cutters to bend the wire. And I'll be bringing some extra tools too. They're very basic. On the list of tools, I have some suggestions for more specialized sculpting tools. And there might be one or two that I'll point out on the list that would be fun to have. But as far as specialized tools, I'm trying to get this where I can see it. There's like loop tools that you can use for scraping, and these are spec'd out on the sheet. A pair of calipers, springform calipers like this for kind of helping to measure. And then there's some like little minaret type tools that are handy to have. They're kind of spoon shaped, but there's photos of them and all on the supply list as well as.
Yeah. And so we have 4 horses.
Yes. And they're beautiful and lovely. Yes.
Thank you. So tell us how you'll be working, and the students will be working directly with the horses.
Is that we'll be, let me back up. Part of the tuition also includes a workbook that I've put together that over the years I'm going to try to trim it down a little bit, but it's going to be more than 50 pages of anatomy information and references that people can, just have in their studio to work, photos to work with later. So in the class, we're going to go back and forth between these 2-dimensional print references, and then we'll go and look at the horses and say, okay, well, that's what it looks like in an anatomy study in a book, but on a live horse, this is what that muscle grouping looks like. So we'll be able to go back and forth and do kind of some reality checks between the theory of anatomy as far as anatomical studies and the live horse. I'll also show how to take measurements from an individual horse. Because we set our armatures up as a scale model, essentially, of the skeleton, you can actually get very exact measurements of an individual horse by palpating on the surface. You can feel the top of the scapula and hold your measuring tape up and go to the bottom of the scapula and get that exact measurement for that horse. You can literally do bone by bone measurements on a live animal to get very precise references if you so desire.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
I have 4 horses and they're all very sweet. I see that little model behind you with the colors on it. Are you bringing that with you?
I will be bringing this
Mm-hmm.
in some of my workshops. We actually put the muscles on in color as a color study, muscle by muscle by muscle, and learn them that way. I think for this workshop, we're going to be using this as a reference. And this is also pretty small scale. You see, it's kind of teeny tiny small scale. Okay. What I'm going to be developing specifically for this workshop is I am creating a much larger.
Wow.
So this will be a much larger skeleton. And then I can take, probably not clay, but I will be using yarn or felt or something, and then putting on each muscle. And the same for the muscles in the face. So I have a little scale model of a skull, and we can, you know how we are with artists, we love color, and it's just easier to talk about, okay, now we're going to talk about the yellow muscle as opposed to the gastrocnemius something or otherist that I can never pronounce. So it makes things more easy and fun to work with all these colored studies.
Yeah, great.
People to know that just because I love the anatomy and I love geeking out on all the anatomy details doesn't mean that everybody has to. I do believe that if you have a pretty firm grasp of the underlying structure, which is why I teach the anatomy in this way, if you have an underlying grasp of the underlying structure, you can take it anyway. Really believe that if you get the anatomy, it could be any color, it could have any level of detail, but it'll still read as a horse or a cow if you want it to be a cow. You know what I mean? Or a dog. This is the other cool thing, is that if you learn quadruped anatomy, and generally it's horse anatomy, you can apply that to cows, you could apply it to giraffes, you could apply it to elephants or anything, because the basic skeletal and anatomical structure is so similar between all these ungulates and all these different mammals.
Yeah, so you can take this, and when you were saying that underlying structure, that's similar to doing a painting. You have to have that.
Absolutely.
And paintings have bones. People may not realize that, but you have that under, just like you said, when you build a house, you got to have the foundation. And so, and you build on a foundation. So that's the same in painting. It's the same in sculpture. I'm sure it's the same in other arts.
That, and from what I've heard from other artists, is that having that three-dimensional structure background strengthens how you see things to translate into 2 dimensions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the light and the shadow.
Because that's the trick of 2-dimensional, is that you try to make it look 3-dimensional. I mean, if you're painting, flower or building or a head of a person. So this would even help with portraiture.
I think so. Again, we're talking about taking the basic techniques and applying them to just about anything. The other thing I love about having a firm grasp of the structure in 3 dimensions is that if I see a horse galloping across a field, if I just get a glimpse of a movement that inspires me, I'm like, okay, I've got that idea, and now I can call upon my anatomy knowledge to fill that out. Or if I just have a teeny tiny glimpse of a horse in a tiny picture that I really think the picture is really cool, but it doesn't have any detail in it, you can build out from that. I guess what I'm saying is having this basic knowledge frees you from having to have the exact reference photo from every angle in order to work around the piece, or even work for a painting. So there's the discipline of learning it, but then you're freed by it, if that makes sense.
So informative. I hope that we people will watch this and not be afraid of sculpture, because I think it will help if you're a 2-dimensional artist as well. And you just never know. I remember Glenna Goodacre was a sculptor here, and she was a painter, and somebody, I don't know the story, Forrest Fenn or somebody, old Santa Fe, said, I think you should start sculpting. Look where that took her,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's fab. She's one of my inspirations. I love her work. I love
Well,
her. She's
well,
awesome. Yeah.
we'll take the group to the Nedra Matucci Gallery because all of her works are out there. They have that sculpture garden in the back, and that's what we'll
Yep.
do. We'll do Nedra's.
Oh,
There's a lot of Glenna Goodacres there. I think this is really fun. I'm really excited. And now I've got all the equipment, and it's
yay.
a blast, and the weather should be good by then. And
It'll be lovely.
we'll be inside most of the time, so that doesn't really matter. But and
Yeah.
work with the horses. And if anybody's interested, my husband loves to get people in the round pen. You won't be able to ride a horse, but you can
but
round pen and do some groundwork with Billy guiding you.
Yeah.
And then people can take pictures of the horses,
Yeah.
loping, and everything like that. And
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, just being able to see the horses in movement after looking at still photos and references and stuff, then being able to see the horses in movement is going to be so fabulous. Yeah.
Thank you. And I hope everybody signs up for this, even if you're not a sculptor. It's going to be.
Oh, absolutely. We're just going to have fun. Thank you, Beth. I'm so looking forward to it.
Thanks, me too.